Alright, now we're in episode 2 of Sonic Heroes, and we are headed into Metropolis for the 2 levels here. And this, in just in case you thought Shadow and Omega had it out for Eggman. Looks like Rouge might have it out for him too. The motivations of Team Dark are, I think they're pretty well understood. Shadow is confused as to what he was doing in a tube, and he's wondering whether or not he's actually the real Shadow the Hedgehog from Sonic Adventure 2 or not. Rouge claims she was looking for treasure, but more likely than not, somebody told her to go to that location. And, of course, we're going to find who that was eventually. And then finally, Omega wants vengeance against Eggman for really not appreciating him. They make a comment about him being locked away in a closet, but the Autobots did that with the Dinobots for much of the first 2 seasons of Transformers. And the Dinobots never really did destroy the Autobots in response to that. So, you know, I'm not really buying the Omega's whole, had to destroy Eggman for that reason theory. And we'll get a little bit more into it later in the game as to what I think is really going on here. Now, the other characters in the game have their own set of missions. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles were sent a challenge by Eggman, which is kind of weird that he would do that, telling him, "Oh yeah, I've created a secret device. You want to stop me? Show up at my base in a few days." And in that combination, Knuckles is the power character. Sonic is the speed character, Tails is the flying character. Then there's Team Rose, which, as the name suggests, is captained by Amy Rose, and it's made up of Amy, Cream the Rabbit, and Big the Cat. Now, Amy just simply wants to find Sonic, which is her normal modus operandi, and while Cream is looking for her Chow Cheese's friend Chocola, and Big is looking for his friend Froggy, and there happens to be this happy little picture showing a spiky-like, hedgehog-like thing running off with both characters. And so they're going after them. And those are the 3 plot-important characters. There's a 4th story involving Team Chaotix, the guys from Knuckles Chaotix, who are a team of private eyes looking for work, and, they get a call from a strange client who claims to have lots of money, and so they're off looking to do things to make money and please this client that they're not really sure who he is, or at least they don't tell us who he is until much later on in their story. But whereas we're really just going from the beginning to the end of the stages here with Team Dark, Team Chaotix has to find items within the stage, and they usually have to find all of a particular item within a stage to make it work. There are 2 stages in particular where that can get very annoying. One, you have to light something like 60 or 64 lampposts in Eggman's secret mansion. And then this level, or the version of this level that the Chaotix play, ran Metropolis, they have to kill I think it's 75 robots. Team Chaotix is made up of SBO the Chameleon, who serves as the speed character, and actually has a unique skill. Not every speed character seems different from the others, per se. SBO can go invisible for a period of time, and that can be a useful skill. And then the other two characters are Charmy B, who serves as the flying character, and Vector the Crocodile, who serves as the power character. Now, you've seen Rouge fly around holding Shadow and Omega, which has got to be tough. But and I don't know how heavy Omega is, but I've got to think that Charmy B's got the toughest job, relative to his size. All right, so as we're cruising along here, we just passed one of those poles, and Shadow has the ability to go up those poles if he uses his tornado attack around them. There's also a way to activate it by using the A button, the normal jump button near the poles, but that's always sort of 50-50 with me, so I'd much rather just use the tornado function and do it that way. Also, we have grind rails here. Any character can grind. The speed characters grind the fastest. The flight characters grind the slowest. And the reason I stayed as the flight character here is because I knew that I was going to be running into these flying enemies up ahead, and I wanted to be able to use the Thunder Shoot. At this point in the Grand Metropolis level, all three characters are at their highest abilities. So Rouge's Thunder Shot attack is going to have a wonderful effect on those flying enemies. And now we're in the last run of this level. Okay, so here's the last checkpoint. All that did was give us a few more points. We used Omega to take out those turtles. And those turtles get introduced in this level, but we're going to see them again once we get further into the power plant. And now this is an interesting... I had a little trouble with these blue slides, and I hadn't had much trouble with them before, and I think it's because of the Xbox controller that I was using, being a little bit older and the thumbstick not quite being centered. But I kept running into the edge of those things and occasionally slipping off of them. And although you can maneuver back onto them, it's not an easy thing to do. And not something I would recommend. This is where the levels start getting a little bit longer. I mean, we were in a palace. In the second level, that took us a little while to do. But here we're going to be close to 10 minutes to complete this level. And power plant is only going to be longer. And this is one of the complaints people have with Team Dark in this game, is that the levels just get too long. And, you're not achieving anything more than just adding more sort of repetitiveness to the process. That's another common complaint about Sonic Heroes, is the amount of repetitiveness in the game. If you play through all four teams, you're going to see a lot of the same level constructs 4 different times. Because basically, to create a Team Rose level, all they do is cut short a Team Sonic level. To get a Team Sonic level, all they do is cut short a Team Dark level. And Team Chaotix, they sort of play with, which levels they run them through, depending on what they're supposed to be trying to do. But now we're into the power plant. And this level was pretty hard. When I first started playing Sonic Heroes back in 2006, this is where I got stuck with this team. And stuck for not 10 years, but 8 years. Like, I didn't come back to, after my first play of Sonic Heroes in 2006, I didn't actually come back and finish it until 2015, with all characters. So you're probably wondering, well, wait a minute, this game came out in 2004. How the heck, why the heck are you talking about 2006? And why the heck are you talking about 2015 on a game that came out in 2004? Well, there's a couple reasons for this. First off, I was not a Sonic fan in the early period when Sonic came out. I thought Sonic's design was cool, as I think a lot of people do. I mean, you know, the blue hedgehog, the red highlights, you know, the fact that he had a little bit of personality, whereas like characters like Mario didn't really have any. Those things were all nice, but I was on the Nintendo side of the console wars, and you know, I played Sonic the Hedgehog 2, like I said, once on a sleepover. And we didn't beat the game. We got to the Winged Fortress, which is where you can't use Tails anymore, and so I kind of lost interest. And then we got lost in Winged Fortress anyway. And then my other experience with the Sonic series, I had another friend who owned Sonic Spinball, which is not exactly a main series Sonic game. Although a lot of people enjoy Spinball, I can't, you know, I don't remember. Again, it was a game I don't think we got very far. We were much more of Madden players, even back then. Madden 92 was a big deal as far as we were concerned. Now, I will note that a couple of these, that this showing of Power Plant is a spliced together version. It's not a straight run like Metropolis was. So you may see the clock deviate from time to time, or you might see small skips in the footage, and that's why that is. So anyways, in the early Sonic period, you know, I was not interested in Sonic games because I was Team Mario. My grandparents had a Super Nintendo. And working my way through Super Mario World in the various times that I would visit them was my early video game goal. That and Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, but you know. So, Sonic, I didn't really have much interest in Sonic. The only times I saw Sonic, particularly after the early Sonic games, was the dentist's office. My orthodontist had a Game Gear for a while until he moved to a new office when he got an arcade cabinet. And that arcade cabinet had Sonic and Knuckles. So I knew a little bit about Sonic 1 for the Game Gear and Sonic and Knuckles. But, you know, nothing really big. And then I, you know, just ignored Sonic. My video game playing in high school, since I didn't own a console and since the friends who I had relied on getting access to consoles previously, you know, I was always 2 or 3 years older than them. So I sort of lost track of them in high school. That was my fault, by the way. I mean, you know, I could have done more to make that happen. Here's a camera glitch where the camera has decided it doesn't want us to know exactly where we're going. So I'm trying to turn it around. There, I get it back. Um, but for the making new friends in high school, the console of choice in those years was the Nintendo 64, with Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart 64, and I think we did a little bit of Perfect Dark, but GoldenEye as a party game is a big deal. But that was my video game experience in high school. And in college, I had a roommate with the Dreamcast who, oddly enough, did not play Sonic Adventure. So, I didn't even know that it was a thing. So 2003 rolls around and I get my Xbox. I sort of conned it out of my parents, and I'm not particularly proud of it in retrospect. And initially I had a couple of games for the system. I had NCAA Football 2005 and Top Spin, the tennis game, because it came with the... those two came with the sort of gift package on that system. And then I added to that NFL Street. But the next Xbox game that I got after that was given to me by my sister, just sort of out of the blue. She gave me a used copy of Sonic Heroes. To this day, I have no idea what prompted her to do this. I also... she doesn't know what prompted her to do that. So, but anyway, and one day when I was house sitting for my parents, and I had access to a larger TV than normal, I thought that I would, I'd see what was up about this game. And lo and behold, there were all these characters. Like Team Sonic, I recognized Team Sonic. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. I knew who those guys were. I may not have known everything about those guys. No, and this is a part I hate. You really do have to kill these turtles quickly because they can, if they're working together, they can trap you into corners and things. And that's just no fun. And I lost a lot of rings there, which I wish I would have had later. Even though, again, this is spliced footage, not all together. And so I pulled out Sonic Heroes, and all of a sudden there were a bunch of characters I'd never seen before, hadn't seen any of the story. They were calling Dr. Robotnik Eggman, which I thought was sort of weird. And I couldn't really place what was going on. So what I did is I would play through levels with Team Sonic, and then when I got to a point where, I had a game over, I would switch to the next team, which in this case was Team Dark, and try their levels, which turned out to be basically almost the same levels. And then when I failed it with a guy game over with Team Dark, I would move on to Team Rose. And through doing that, I sort of figured out the difficulty mode settings. The one thing I didn't really figure out, though, were these characters. Like Team Dark. The name suggested that they were evil, and I didn't have anything to go against that. So I figured that the black hedgehog, Shadow, who I had never seen before. I figured that Shadow was there's a clip, or a cut. I figured that Shadow must have been an evil Sonic clone or something. So I pretty much assumed that Team Dark were villains, even though I got far enough into the game that they had to fight a Dr. Robotnik boss. And, you know, as far as the Chaotix were concerned, I assumed they were mercenaries, more so than private eyes. Because, again, one of their members is Vector the Crocodile, and in most fictions, crocodiles, if we apply Ninja Turtle logic, crocodile is usually bad. And, of course, I didn't really care enough to get my information fixed on any of these things at the time. So I got all the way to Rail Canyon in my first playthrough of Sonic Heroes. I got all the way to Rail Canyon with Team Sonic and Team Rose. I only got as far as the power plant with Team Dark. And Team Chaotix I also got to Rail Canyon. Rail Canyon, with all of its rail switching, was a big problem for me at the time because I really wasn't used to how Sonic games operate. So when I came back to Sonic Heroes years later to finish it, because when I went back to school, even though I was working off of a smaller screen, I did manage to get Team Rose all the way to the final story boss of the story mode. The Egg Emperor. I just couldn't manage to beat him. Alright, so here's one of the downsides of using Chaos Control. The time stopping prevented the lift from activating. And now we're into the very difficult part of the power plant. And here's why. First off, you jump on these platforms, they will begin to disappear underneath you. So you need to use Rouge and get her quickly from platform to platform. You can avoid those guys by jumping around them. They're not necessary to complete the level. And the first, if you can get to this part right here, you're halfway through. But you need to defeat you see the net on top of you? You have to defeat all the blue flyy things. To cause that net to disappear and allow you to progress further through the level. Okay, and then we hit the green fly thing. So the hard part is getting to this point. And then here you have a little bit more leeway until you get up to this point. So you need to kill those three things. Basically, what you need at this point is Rouge must have her Thunder Shoot. You need her to have that. And there's a checkpoint right before the elevator, or right before that section. You don't want to hit that checkpoint because if you die, Rouge won't have her thing, and you'll have to be relying on Omega to kill things quickly, and that depends on your level of skill. I'm personally not comfortable doing that. But you may be better than me at that. I don't know. So another C rank for us. And now we're into the second boss battle. And this is something that Sonic Heroes does that's a carryover from the adventure games. And that is having character battles. Having your character fight the other characters. And so here, we're taking on the Chaotix. So there's what Charmy, Vector, and Espio look like, just in case you were curious as to what the heck I was talking about. Now, there's a trick for these battles, and that is to have your speed character use his tornado move continuously, and you should prevail, because they'll keep running into the tornado. Okay, so I'm just going to have Shadow do it a couple times. You know, Espio's already been knocked out, and the other two are knocked out right there. And so we were in this for all of maybe, 30 seconds, more or less. Okay, 20 seconds, which, as you can see, is not a record for me on this stage. But it is good enough for an A rank. So we are going to move on to the casino. I'll see you then.